Alright. So today?
I'm in the video. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm with.
No,
No, you can be
you
there.
can be there. It's fine.
Yeah, this
You're
is,
not in the
this is,
picture frame.
Because then it looks like no one's listening to Ross and he's just staging.
Alright, whatever. Now.
Hurry up, Brandon.
What?
Just you have my friend, he was talking to us, you know, in the picture.
Well, then how am I supposed? Oh
Get a
yeah, I
picture.
can use this thing, right? This thing does stuff like that. Yeah. Ooh, wow, magical. Alright.
Yeah, it's right.
Hey guys.
How's it going?
So today I'm going to be going over what's called a put back spread. And what I did was I did it on Twitter. So who here is familiar with the Twitter merger? Rumors. Alright, we got 2 people, 3, 2.5. Alright, so essentially what happened was like 3 weeks ago, there was a rumor that Twitter was going to get bought out. Naturally, the stock jumped up, and then I think last week, 2 weeks ago, last week, Google, Disney, and Microsoft, 3 of the 4 companies that were considering buying out Twitter, all backed out, which left Salesforce. So before the stock was trading at about 18 and change, then it was trading at 24 once the merger was getting big. And Twitter had announced that they wanted $20 billion for the company. And following them backing out, the stock fell to 18 and change again. And then Friday, Salesforce, the last person who was considering buying them out, also backed out of the arrangement, and then the stock fell to 16 and change. So today I'm going to be going over, as I mentioned earlier, a put back spread. So what a put back spread is, in its simplest form, is you sell an at the money put option, and then you buy 2 out of the money put options. So what I ended up doing was I bought, and I used a November strike. I believe it was, expiration date. I believe it was November 16th. It was either 16th or the 24th, one of those 2. And I sold the 23 put, and then I bought 2 of the 20 puts. So the total cost of the trade, I actually received money for putting them on. So I received a 60-cent premium for that, for putting on the position, because the 23 put that I sold, I received $2.40 for. Was it $2.40? Yeah. I received $2.40 per share for that position. And then the 2 $20 puts, I paid 90 cents each for them. So a total of $1.80. So that's $2.40 minus 180, 60 cents per share for 500 times puts times 100, which is 100 shares per put. So times 50,000. Feel free to interrupt me at any point if you have questions, by the way. So, I did it in a 2-to-1 ratio, and one thing that was really nice about this was that, raise your hand if you're familiar with skew on options. Okay, yeah. So, raise your hand if you're familiar with implied volatility. Okay, yeah. So implied volatility is the expected volatility on the option when it's being priced into the market. And the skew is the difference in the implied volatility between an at-the-money and an out-of-the-money option. So for instance, the at-the-money option had a 73 IV, whereas the out-of-the-money had like a 71.7-ish IV. So the skew would be 1.3 in that scenario. I think maybe 1.7. Yeah, it was 1.7 in this actual scenario. So, because if a black swan were to happen, right, and something completely unexpected, we go into World War III, cats and dogs are living together, something like that happens. The Ghostbusters end up having to save the day because ghosts invade. then the market would completely tank, and the higher IV is pretty much the option seller saying, hey, because you're paying a really small premium because they're way out of the money, I want a little bit extra just to cover me in case of this catastrophic event occurring. So a skew of a 1.7 is actually really, really low, because typically you'll see something more like a 5 or a 7 skew, especially on an option that has a historical volatility of something in the range of like 60 to 80, which is what Twitter does, as most tech companies have incredibly high volatilities. So for this strategy, because the way a put back spread works is at 23, once the stock falls below 23, you are now short the stock. And then once it hits 20 in this scenario, then you become, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. At 23, below 23, you are now long the stock. So every penny it goes down, you're losing a penny. And then once it hits 20, then you become short the stock. So every penny it goes down, you gain a penny. So, because what happens is, since you're buying 2 put options, the first one cancels out the one that you sold, and then the other one gives you a net short of 1. So what ends up happening is you get a curve that looks wow, this is a terrible number. Boss.
Oh, Jesus.
Alright, well, someone's not joining the baseball team. So, yeah, this is, actually I should draw this farther up. So this is your P&L. Oh, I'm sorry, no it's not. This is your P&L. This is your stock price. And what ends up happening is, in this scenario, since we got 60 cents for opening the position, if the stock stays above $23, we're going to keep that 60 cents. Because both put options, the ones we bought and sold, are just going to expire worthless. So if the merger ended up going through and something did happen, then we made a little bit of money. And if nothing happened, so here, let's say this is current stock, current price. If it stays above the current price, we get this. We make a little bit of money. And then this is our options. And then if the stock goes down, then we start to lose money until it hits here, and then we start to make money. You guys get how that works? So essentially what's happening is, between 23 and 20, we are losing money. If the stock ends up on $20 exactly, we lose a ton of money. Once it hits $20 and falls below that, then we start to recover our losses, because now we're short the stock. So we're making money as the stock falls. In essence, what we're doing is we're going long gamma in this scenario. And gamma is the measure, it's the rate of change. So it's the rate of delta changing. Does everybody understand that graph? Great, you get to explain that graph to me. Go for it.
Are they both puts?
Yeah, so you sold a 23 put and you bought 2 20 puts.
Well, if it goes over 23, you make money because the put does expire and you'll get the difference between the share price and the put price. And if it goes below 20, you're just going to put it at 20. If it goes down to 18, you'll make whatever, $2 on a share minus the put.
Right, so you're going to make, so you would make $4 on the puts that you
Yeah, between 23 and 20,
sold.
you'll just lose the premium. right?
No, so between 23 and 20, so you're short at 23.
Okay.
Which means that between, you know what a put is, right?
Yeah.
Describe a put to me real quick.
You have the option without the obligation to sell stock at a fixed price.
Right, so if you sold that option, then somebody can force you to buy it at that price, right?
Yeah.
So that means that if it falls to 18 and I sold at 23, what can someone make me do?
Buy it at 20.
Buy it at 23. And then we also have two of them that allow us to sell it at 20. So what ends up happening is the difference between 18 and 20, you multiply that by 2, so we get $4, but then we also have to pay out the difference between 18 and 23, which is 5. So if it fell to 18, then we would actually be losing $1, and then we'd also be getting that 60-cent premium, so our loss would actually be 40 cents. Make sense?
Sure.
Is that a
Kind of.
yes? What part doesn't make sense?
Ross, I think you should put the number on the graph.
Put the number on the graph? Okay.
It helps to understand.
You really lost me at log M.
Okay, ignore the long game. Yeah, don't worry about that. So you own the right to force me to buy the stock for 23. I own the right to force you to buy 2 stocks at 20. Where do you make the most money?
If it goes above 23, it flies above 23.
No. You make the most money if it goes to 20. Because then you can say to me, hey, you have to buy it from 23 for you, but I have the right to force you to buy it at 20. If it
Okay.
goes to 20, I'm not going to exercise that right because it's market price. So you just get $3 and you don't lose anything for it. Make sense?
That makes sense.
And then every dollar below that, you start to lose $1. Because now,
Because you have the obligation to make me buy it at.
two of
at
them
20.
at 20, yes.
That makes sense.
Alright, awesome.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So basically with the spread, like that small interval is the 2 options that you bought, they're worthless. And you have to cover the option that you sold, that you wrote.
Exactly.
And
That's
then once it
correct.
gets below a certain point, the 2 options that you bought, you're shorting. Or that's your short position. That's what you're making
Right,
back off of whatever you have to cover for the written option.
Yep, good job. Way to explain it. Give me a quick pound.
Yes. That makes sense.
Alright, so yeah, that's essentially what this position is doing. So if it goes above 23, then you keep your 60 cents, which is going to be multiplied by 50,000, which represents the 500 puts that you wrote. And since each put is 100 shares, you multiply 0.6 times 100 times 500, which is 50,000, which will give you a 30,000 in profit. And if it falls to $20 on the dot, then aside from you being screwed, you would lose $3, but then you would have to subtract your losses away from the 60 cents that you gained, which would be $2.40 times your 50,000, which will give you 120,000 in max loss. And then your break-even points are going to be at 22.40 and 17.60. And what that represents is you take your 60 cents, and so at 22.40, that'd be 60 cents in the money for the put option that you sold. And since that would be equal to the amount that you received in premium for selling the spread, you would not make or lose any money, minus commission. We're ignoring commissions here. And then on the opposite side, 1760 represents the position being you getting $2.40 on the put options that you bought, and then you're still paying the $3 for the put option that you sold, plus your 60 cents, which is giving you your 1760 break even. So, we already discussed what happens once the stock falls below 20. So yeah, the basis of this strategy is that you're betting on two things, sort of. So you're betting on direction, however, if you get direction wrong, then you don't lose money. But if you get direction right, then you're betting on so it's an if-else probability, essentially. If the stock falls, it's going to fall a lot. That's what you're betting on, for all intents and purposes. And if you get direction wrong, then you make a little bit of money, or you just don't make money at all. But if you get direction right, but volatility wrong, then you lose a lot of money. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. So, and once again, this is a real position that we put on. So right now, from a delta perspective, from an intrinsic value perspective, we're up like $55,000. However, if you would actually liquidate the position, we could actually liquidate it for $75,000. And the reason for that, and I was going into this a little bit earlier, and if you don't understand it, we'll go over it in another meeting. It's a little more complex. But we're actually long gamma in this position. And as I said earlier, gamma it measures the rate of change. So how quickly is delta changing? And the reason why we're long gamma is because since we're long out of the money options, the closer they get to at the money, the quicker they're going to be, the more responsive they're going to be to a dollar change in the stock price. And what I mean by that is, hey, if you have a $20 put option on Apple right now, which is trading at $110 or something, and Apple falls $1, how much more is your option worth?
Not at all.
Exactly, it doesn't make a difference. Now, what if you own a $110 option and put option, and it falls $1? Now, how much is your option worth?
A little bit more.
Yeah, it's worth a little bit more, and that difference, the fact that a way out of the money option doesn't change very much in delta, it doesn't change very much in value given a change in the stock price. Whereas a at the money does, and it's because the likelihood of it growing in or out of the money increases exponentially the closer it is. It's not a linear relationship. Do you have a question?
The key is if it's either in the money or out of the money, then it's less if you're betting that it's going to stay like at the money, there's more of a chance of it moving than not, right? Than if it's either out of or in the money.
I'm sorry, repeat that question.
So like if you're talking about like references towards like what you think is going to happen in the future, it's more likely than not it's not going to be in the money in the future than if it was already in or out of the money when you bought it, right? Does that make sense? Because if it's out of the money, then it's already not like it's not trading at that price.
Right. Yeah. So it's how far out of the money it is. So it's not just is it out or in the money, it's how far out or in the money. Because if an option is like $1 out of the money and it's a $120 option with a 80 vol, which means that within a year's time it'll typically change 80%, then then that option is probably incredibly expensive. It's probably got a huge delta and a huge gamma. But if it's $1 out of the money and it's a 15-cent stock, then and it's got like a 10 vol, then I'm not expecting that stock to move very much. It's not going to have a very high gamma because it's like way out of the money. So it's more of a matter of degrees than a matter of absolutes. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So that's the trade that I put on for this position. It went pretty well. The returns, if we were liquidated today, are 62.5%. And that's from market closing quotes. And the intrinsic value is somewhere around like a 46% return if everybody were to exercise today. Any questions, comments, concerns? Yeah.
So basically, you just assess that this type of a trade would mean that if Twitter would get bought out, it would shift like dramatically, and if it doesn't get bought out, it would shift dramatically the other way. Basically.
Exactly. That was the basis of this trade. Yes. And in this specific scenario, it ended up being accurate.
This is put box spread, right?
Put back spread.
Put back spread.
Yeah. Does anybody have some scenarios where they think a back spread may be useful coming up? Within the next maybe 3 months, 2 months? Elections. How would you structure a trade right now? What would you use this on? What asset class, I guess? And why? Yeah, go. Why? Talk me through it.
Okay, so I mean, usually in terms of gold is usually thought of as a safe haven in terms of times of uncertainty with things such as inflation or general like doubt in the market itself. So I guess you could use this trade if you think that one way or the other, maybe there's more uncertainty. If Trump wins, that gold will shoot it up or something like that, or that if she wins, then gold can just like go down or something like that, because people will feel more safe with like the status quo or something like that, or at least less like uncertain.
Do you think gold will go up a lot or a little? Or fluctuate a lot or a little?
I don't know if I can make that determination.
Okay. Anybody else? Showtime. Talk me through a trade.
Like a putback spread.
It can be anything you want.
Okay,
The
so
world is your oyster.
alright, say if we think that Twitter is gonna get bought by the company, and we're not really sure because a lot of companies have been trying to buy Twitter and then backing out, and then Twitter's been losing money. So what we do is make a put back spread on Twitter, and because Twitter stock will fall every time the company backs out, and we're betting that the company is gonna back out of not buying Twitter and then pretending to buy Twitter and backing out, so Twitter would fall X%. But everyone thinks that the company is going to end up buying Twitter, in which case Twitter stock will shoot up a lot.
So actually, right now, you'd be better off doing the exact opposite. You'd be better off doing
Either way,
a callback
you're
spread.
covering.
And the reason for that is because right now the stock is already trading at zero when you buy it out, right?
Like past 23.
Yeah. However, what if somebody did come in and said, hey, actually we do like Twitter, we want to buy it. What would happen?
Well, we're betting that they're gonna back out at the last moment and Twitter's stock will go back
But
down.
we would have to wait for that. We can't enter that trade now, apparently, because there's no buyers.
I'm saying, what if a buyer's comes
Oh,
up?
so you're talking a theoretical situation. So pretty much the exact same thing that just happened.
Yeah, like with Salesforce or Twitter.
Okay.
I was going back with the 3 days, not
Okay, understood. Yeah, that's what this trade was. Makes sense. So what about the Fed rate hike, guys? In December. Who here thinks this would? I will bet you $20 it doesn't happen in November.
I'm not agreeing with that. I'm just saying it's possible. Well, you just said there's a 15% chance.
50?
15.
15?
So he's not gonna take the bet, but he's just saying.
Alright, what if I give you, what is it?
Give him 8 to 1 odds.
What if I give you 6 to 1 odds?
No.
I try and make a fair offer and you just reject me. It breaks my heart. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, so with the put back spread, would you make more money if it went in a negative direction or a positive direction?
Depends on how much.
Okay.
So you would make money
What if like either way it was just gonna go like a lot, you know?
if it was going to go a lot. Then with the putback spread, you would make more if it went down.
Okay.
However-
and with the call you'd make more if it went up.
Yeah, if you did a callback spread, then you would make more if it went up. Because that's another thing. Just as there's a putback spread, you can also do a callback spread. So, I believe it was before Salesforce backed out, the stock had plummeted to lower than what it was trading at prior to the merger. But there was still a buyer on the table. So it wouldn't have been unreasonable to enter a callback spread on Twitter at that moment and then sell the 20 and buy, say, the 23 call, knowing that they weren't going to accept anything less than approximately 18 to 20 billion, which represents like a 27 to 33 share price. So, and that actually would have given you a net premium of 18 cents. So you could have gotten an easy 18 cents right there if they said no, or if they said yes, and you could have had confidence that they were going to get bought out for something like $27 plus a share, in which case you would have made money on the call side as well. So there actually was an opportunity to run a call back spread right before Salesforce had backed out. The only downside to it was that the skew, that whole IV thing I was talking about earlier, was ridiculous. It was like a 15 skew. So the 20 call was trading at an IV of 82, and then the 23 call was trading at an IV of like 96, which was incredibly high. So even though it was a good trade in the fact that the style of the trade was really good for the situation, you would have been paying very unfavorable prices, even though you still probably would have made money, which is something to consider, especially once you, next meeting, I'm going to go into synthetics, specifically creating out of the money synthetics, which are a little more complicated because every single position you put on has another position that simulates it. Sometimes it's a little bit harder to put on, but you can often create, in scenarios like this, a similar position for a slightly cheaper price. And that's all I really have on the put back spread. Does anybody have more questions, comments, concerns?
Well, you said this was what we were talking about, so this is actually what you put on Twitter?
Yes, I did.
Oh, so what I-
Yeah, what you had
I did
described,
not.
I did that exact thing
Okay.
on Twitter. That is correct, yes, yeah. No worries, you're good. Anybody else? Alright, raise your hand if you feel better after this meeting. You know, about like 6, you don't have to raise your hand unless, yeah, you feel better?
Yeah.
Alright, great, tell me everything I just talked about.
I walked in like the last 5 minutes, but I know you were talking about some of the different Greeks and about Twitter being bought out and it never actually happening, so the stock's actually going down. So you bet against with the put back spread.
And what is that?
Selling one, buying one, and selling another option, right?
No, close. It's selling an at the money and then buying two out of the monies. Yeah. Now, do you know what the purpose of the trade is? What it's actually trying to do? What am I betting on, essentially?
Did the stock will go down?
Is that all I'm betting? So what I'm betting on, because if the stock goes down a little bit, then I lose a lot of money. Because I sold an at the money and I bought an out of the money. Two out of the money. What I'm betting on is if the stock goes down, it's going to go down a lot. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's what you're betting on. You're betting on if X, then Y. If the stock goes up, it'll go a lot. If the stock goes down, it'll go down a lot. That's what you're betting on with the back spread. So if you ever see a scenario where you look at it and you say, hey, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that it's going, that if this one thing happens, it'll have a drastic effect. So for instance, Benny, you were talking about what if Trump wins? From there, if you wanted to trade on that, what you would do is you would figure out which direction this, whatever asset you want to trade would go, and then you would say, hey, how much is it going to change? Because you're right, if Trump wins, then hell, if Trump wins, the peso is going to plummet, right? Yeah, the peso is going to weaken considerably. So you may actually want to do a put back spread on the peso up until the election. The probability of Trump winning, right now it's pretty small. But if he does happen to win, that's going to have a huge, drastic effect. Another scenario where this might have worked is the British referendum. And nobody thought the British were going to leave. And that's completely fine, because the beauty of this strategy is that if you're wrong about direction, if you're completely wrong, you don't lose money. You only lose money if you're right about direction but wrong about volatility. So if you have confidence that if you're right about direction, you're right about volatility, then you should definitely put on this trade on the peso. Or back in a few months ago when the British were considering leaving, taking the S&P and doing the exact same thing on that, or banking stocks. Because as we saw, even though it was very unlikely, it had drastic consequences if it did happen. And that's what you really want to see. Everybody good? Yeah, go.
Yeah, you mean like you could have done it for like Barclays or something like that during the referendum?
Exactly.
Credit Suisse or...
Yeah, any of them, do it on the, actually the pound was really expensive because of a high IV, so you probably didn't want to do it on the pound. There were better things. I mean, it would work, but there was better things to do it on. But, exactly, banking stocks. Yeah.
So what was your max loss again on this?
My max,
Was it just
my
the,
max loss was 120,000.
was that just the selling the 60 cent 23 put and then the 40 cent to $20 puts? Is that just the difference between those
So
two?
it was actually a 240 23 put that I sold, and then a 90 cent 20.
So then,
Yeah, and that was the difference between, that was your $3 minus your 60 cents. Because you got 60 cents back, and then you multiplied that by 50,000, which was, because I did this with 500 puts, and one put is 100 shares. Yep. And that's how I got the 120,000. And when calculating ROIs with something like this, you're typically going to want to take the money you make divided by your maximum potential loss. Because if I told you, hey, I received 60 cents to make $1 at 10, how do you calculate an ROI with that, right? Because it'd be theoretically infinite. So that's one of the things. You always want to use your maximum potential loss when calculating an ROI.
can you explain that callback spread?
Yeah, sure. So, guys, I don't know if you guys heard his question, but he asked if I could explain a callback spread. And all a callback spread is very, very simple. So what you would do is you would sell an at-the-money call, and then you would buy 2 out-of-the-money calls. So let's take Twitter again, for example. The other day I looked into a callback spread. And what I would do is I would sell the $20 call and I'll get 89 cents back for that. So let's erase this. And so I'm getting 0.89. And can all of you guys see this?
Yeah.
Alright, awesome. So you're getting 89 cents for this. And then at the same time, actually I'm gonna lift one of these up because I don't need this anymore. And then move this over here as well. you're getting 89 cents, and then you're buying 223 calls, and you're paying 39 cents a piece for those. I'm sorry, you're paying 35 cents a piece for those, because I remember you got 19 cents back. So 35 times 2, that's going to be 70. So you're paying out 70 cents. So it's minus 0.7. So now you're getting a net premium for putting on this position of 19 cents per share, essentially. And you use this guy to calculate your shares, not your 2, you use the 1. And so then what would happen is I would get and this is stock P/L. Let's go 0.6. One, 2, 3. -1, -2, -3. And then let's take 20, 23, 25. What? No, let's go 28. I like even numbers better. So, right now, if the stock goes down, let's change this to 0.19 also. If the stock goes down, then you get 0.19 cents. That's what you're making, right? Because you got a 19-cent premium for putting on this position, right? And so if the stock stays below $20, then the options you bought go out of the money worthless, and the options you sold go out of the money worthless. So you get to keep that 19 cents, and then you can go buy yourself a fifth of a Burger King burger. Now, what ends up happening is, if the stock goes between 20 and 23, then you end up losing $2.81. And your break even is going to be, let's pretend that I actually drew this scale for a minute. And we're going to call this right here 20.19. So 20.19 is going to be a break even. Because what happens is, as a stock goes up, you start to lose money, right? And so that 19 cents you have at 20.19, it evens out with the amount of money you lost. Because every penny it goes down, up to 23, you're losing a penny now. Then what happens is, once it hits 23, now you're long 2 options, right? So now you're both short 1, and now you're long 2, which gives you a net long 1. So what's going to end up happening is, you're going to make money everywhere above 25.81. Everything above 25, and once again, we're going to pretend that I'm a great drawer, and this is draw to scale. And this right here is 25.81. So at 25.81, you're breaking even, and then at 20.19, you're breaking even. And your max loss would be, who wants to tell me what your max loss would be? I'll give you a hint. What's $3 minus 19 cents?
281.
Good job, guys. 281. It's like you don't even need me here. So right here, your max loss is going to be 281. So let's just pretend that this is 281, and I am a great drawer once again. So your max loss is 281, and at 23, you're losing the maximum possible. And then after that, once it goes above 23, you're now long the stock. So, which means that, once again, 25.81 is your break even, and after that, you just make money. It's like being long the stock. Every dollar goes up, you make a dollar. Every penny goes up, you're making a penny.
But can you explain what you're doing when you sell the call option? So at what point are you losing money on the call option you sold?
So
what's happening with
at $20 exactly, you're losing money. Well, every dollar, every penny above $20, you're losing money.
Is it because you have to sell the person that stock at that price?
Right,
Even though
exactly,
keep going-
exactly.
yeah.
You said, hey, if you give me $2 and what was it? If you give me 89 cents, then you can force me to buy it for $20. I mean,
Sell
you
it to
can.
that
I'm
person.
sorry. Yes, yeah. You can force me to sell it for $20. I'm sorry. I'm still on puts. Ooh. Puts
Yeah.
card. It's rough out there. But yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, because you're being forced to buy it.
Yeah. So
As
you're
it
being
keeps going,
forced. You're being forced to sell it.
To sell it to that
Yeah.
person.
Right. So you can come to me and say, hey, the stock's at $20.01. You said that I could buy it from you for $20. So I'm gonna buy it from you for $20 and sell it on the market for $20.01, and I'm eating good tonight. Yeah.
When you said that the $3 minus 19 cents, is that per option contract, like
No, that is per share.
per share, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So an option contract is 100 shares.
Okay.
So everything here is multiplied by 100,
Okay, cool.
and then multiplied by however many options you do this with. Yeah. And then at $23, to expand on your question, now you're saying to somebody else, hey, you know, you said that I could force you to sell it to me for 23. Well, now it's at $23.01. So you have to give me 2 shares for 23, and hoo-wee, that BK burger, man. I got 1/100th of it, baby. So yeah, that's how this works. Do you understand all that? You
Yeah.
Good? Yeah, you feel like you can teach it next week?
Possibly, yeah.
Why don't you do that? This is your last chance to ask questions.
Yeah, I have another question that's totally unrelated.
Yeah.
Do people ever structure trades where they'll actually buy the stock and then buy a put option or something? Or, they'll short a stock and they'll buy a call option or something.
Oh, for sure. That's actually a synthetic. So buying a stock and buying a put option is the exact same position as buying a call option. Do you understand why?
Doesn't it just take more capital though?
Yeah, because you have to pay for the stock itself, so it does tie up more capital. However, if you allow your shares to be shorted, you also get those shorting fees.
Okay. But isn't it safer though, like even if even if you do buy the stock and it like dips, you can still hold it and then it might gain?
It's not any safer than buying a call option.
I mean, if you buy a call option and then decide not to use it versus having to buy like a stock and then just holding the stock, your initial capital is going to be tied into the stock, but the stock may rise, or most likely it will, and then you'll lose the money, however, like penny wise that you spent on the option that you chose not to use.
So you're talking about from a risk management perspective.
Yeah.
And for the average person, yes, it is better for them to do that because they don't know how to manage risk. However, for someone who knows what the position is, all it's doing is tying up more capital.
Yeah.
However, it's the exact same position, has the exact same P&L, because, so, if any of you have a piece of paper and a pencil and you don't quite get this, I want you to say the stock's trading at $20, and you can buy a $20 call for $2 and a $20 put for $2. I want you to buy 100 shares of stock. I want you to buy the put for $2 a share, so it costs you $200. And then I want you to compare it to what happens if you buy a $20 call for $2 a share, so once again, $200. And I want you to compare what the two do across, just pick random stock prices. And then tell me what you get. So what you're doing is, you're buying 100 shares of stock XYZ at $20 a piece. And then you're buying a $20 put for $200, which is $2 a share. And then I also want you to track what happens when you buy a $20 call on stock XYZ.
So you buy 100 puts?
So you would buy one put, which is 100 shares.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'd be $2 a share, so it would cost $200. Because don't forget, options are always traded in increments of 100 shares. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, if the stock, fell, so if you were to buy a call option and the stock fell, then you're managing risk.
$2 per share, but you buy like one put, which is, like it's worth like 200, I guess like
So
200 puts, I don't know.
So it's because puts are done with lots of 100 shares. So you would be buying the right to sell 200 shares. You would buy the right to sell 100 shares, which would be $2 per share for that right. So one put would cost $200. Does that make sense? Alright. I'm sorry about that.
So if you had a call option and you had shares and the stock fell.
Also speak louder so I can
Okay,
hear you.
if you had a call option and the stock fell, then
So you would not buy the stock if you bought a call option?
you wouldn't buy the stock.
No.
You would short the stock.
No, you would do nothing with it. So buying a call option is the same as buying a put and buying a stock.
Yeah.
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 Alright, cool.
And that's the same with the put option. So put option is like shorting a
Only
stock
with the put option.
and buying a call. Is that what it is?
It's only with the put. Like you can only switch buying a stock with buying a put option, because buying a call option is.
I was asking
you see
about
how they're the exact same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
would a call option be the same thing except the opposite way? Like it's a synthetic call.
So a call, a synthetic call is buying the stock and buying a put.
Okay.
And everybody's good with the basic synthetic. However, one thing to remember is that that's only true for at-the-money calls. If you try and do a out-of-the-money call, that's not going to hold true. And I'm going to go into that more either next meeting or the meeting afterwards, because it's creating synthetic OTMs is different. So everybody good with the basic synthetic? I'm assuming that's a no? Since there's no-
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
buy the stock and buy a call.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, no,
No, you buy a put.
you buy a stock and buy a put.
Put,
And that's
yeah.
equal to a call.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get why, right?
Kind of.
The opposite's put.
Well,
You can't buy a call in the.
So do you have a piece of paper on?
Yeah.
I want you to chart it, because once you understand synthetics a lot more, things make a lot more sense. And also, there's an old trader saying, and that's that noobs trade options, pros trade synthetics.
Did you make that saying?
I did make it up.
Just
Yes.
right now, or like?
No, yeah, just right now.
Yeah.
But I'd say it's a pretty good saying. Alright, so you're taking a stock that's trading at 20.
Yeah.
And anybody else who doesn't understand this, do the exact same thing. You're gonna chart both of these things. And you're gonna buy 100 shares
On what type of, are you
on the stock, just the stock.
Yeah, so what type of chart would you say like this, like you usually?
If you want to, or you can just plug in random numbers if you want.
Okay.
And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna buy a put, which is gonna cost you $2 a share, so $200 in all. Because don't forget a put is 100 shares.
So like,
And
when you buy.
and you're gonna
so you
graph
buy
that.
100 shares of X, Y,
And
Z
then
stock,
at the same
20
time,
later.
you're going,
So
you're gonna graph,
no
make
net
another
loss
graph,
or gain because the stock
which is
is
going to be
making
you
money.
buying
It's just
one
for
call option,
buying
which is gonna
stock,
cost you
just like
$200,
that. It's just a
so
straight line.
$2 per share.
But then
Yeah.
you buy options.
And I want you to
buy-
graph those two
So you
and
put
tell
you
me,
buy like
and
puts so
tell
that
me what
like
you see.
the same amount of shares, so that if it goes. the
Alright,
stock
so
goes
did
down,
everybody hear what you're
then
graphing
you
if
can
you
cover
don't
your
understand
losses.
this?
But you have to pay the premium.
Yeah?
So you pay
Everybody
premium
who
for
doesn't
the-
understand is looking at it?
and then you put the
Alright,
spread.
awesome.
So you start at like, you start down at like $200, that's like the premium, and then anytime it goes up after that.
Yeah, by the way, for those
But
of
it's
you who do
worthless.
understand this, I'm
And it's
I'm
just like
done.
owning a stock.
I did everything I wanted,
But then
we
a
used
call.
up our hour time slot, so you guys are free to go.
Possibly pizza next meeting.
Oh yeah,